there are three things that are required for an engineer to get into Google. First is very strong basic fundamentals.
Mhm.
Second is experience with executing good projects, and third is some soft skills.
Welcome back to Engineering Aajkal. Google is a dream company of every computer science engineer, not just in India, but world. But how many of us exactly gets to live that dream? Well, today we have someone with us who is doing exactly that. His name is Pratik Kapasi. He is a VIT pass out and currently working as software engineer at Google. He has also experiences with big brands like Amagi Media Labs, Razorpay, and more. What made him embark in this journey? Let's find out. So you have done many internships, like there have been so many. And can you tell us some of the memorable ones and what were your key learnings in these internships?
I have done more than 4 internships, I think, during the 4 years. The most memorable one being the one with MIT Media Labs. I got in touch with some brilliant minds over there. I got to know what innovation truly was. The project that I was working on was given a live feed. We were supposed to detect emotions from it, human emotions. That happened to be my first ML project. Uh, given a live video feed, just the way we are right now, we are streaming right now. Uh, from that video feed, the computer would want to detect what is an emotion. Hey, I see a face. What emotion is the face reflecting? Is it a neutral emotion? Is it a happy face? Sad face? Is the face angry? And so on. So it was very exciting to build this from scratch and even build it to a place where you can teach autistic children how to create emotions, how to make emotions, how to help them. Uh, how do you help them understand emotions? I also came across on some terms around entrepreneurship at that time. Uh, for example, I did not know what an elevator pitch was. It was through MIT Media Labs internship that I got to know about this.
You worked in, you did your internship in a place like MIT Media Lab, which is quite like people want to go to these places. So can you tell us a little more about, how did you find this opportunity and what was the selection process like? What the questions they were asking you?
So MIT Media Labs was a wonderful opportunity that I came across. Fortunately, I never went out to their website or started applying and came across a few. Nothing like that happened. I was just looking for internships, and I think like several other people, I was just browsing through 2019.com, internseller.com, hellointern.com, and I came across this internship on MIT Media Labs on Internshala. I saw the description, I thought about it, I was like, okay, I don't think I can get into this, but what's the harm in applying? I applied, I had my resume and everything built in ready with me. I applied, and within 1 week I got a call from Boston from my mentor Utkrist. He called me, he said that he wants to take an interview, he's interested in my profile. The very same day we had 2 rounds of interview. We discussed a lot of things that I had mentioned in my resume. Nothing apart from that. The projects that I had worked on, or things like data structures that I've known about.
Your first job was in Amagi Media Labs. Can you tell a little bit about like how did you find this job opportunity? Was it through college placement or you went out personally to look for it?
So I was applying. So we have an excellent placement cell at VIT. We have companies, more than 300 to 400 companies coming in on a yearly basis. So all around the year, you have interviews and tests scheduled if you are in the final year. Amagi Media Labs was through campus placement, was through the campus. I was applying offline as well. I reached out to a few other companies, but by the time I got selected over there, I had cracked Amagi Media Labs. So firstly, there was this aptitude test, which was mainly, I believe, on elimination. Uh, since the volume of people applying for the test sitting for the company is huge, so they're like it's in the order of 1500s to 2000 people sitting for one company. So it was an online test where we had questions around aptitude, some technical MCQs, and we also had a coding two questions on coding. Once the results for these were out, face-to-face interviews were scheduled for 20 to 30 people, and post which so in interviews we had concepts covering right from web development to object-oriented programming to a couple of puzzles, a couple of things that you have worked on your projects, etc. So the first job is always important because you are a fresher at that time. You do not know how people in companies work, industry works. So I learned a lot of fundamentals around engineering. I learned what code development is, what how it is to debug your code on a live environment, how it is to test your code, common engineering practices, the tools that you hear about, right? Sprint, Jira, Agile, uh, caching, querying, queues. So all of these terms were like thrown at me in within 1 year, and it really built me up, understand the tech infrastructure end to end.
So post Amagi, you joined Razorpay. What was the whole thought process behind, like, going into it? Was fintech something that you were actually interested in?
So back then, Razorpay, when I joined Razorpay, it was not as famous as it is today. I got to know about it through a mutual friend of mine. We were talking about startups, and he mentioned Razorpay to me. And he mentioned that there's this cool startup called Razorpay, where my brother works at, and they're working on XYZ things. This is their goal, and this is how they've executed XYZ projects. Which I thought that hey, this is very interesting. I would like to work there someday. After a couple of months, I thought, hey, if I'm so much, I kept hearing about the company at a regular intervals. That he used to say that hey, today they launched something like this. Today they're planning to launch something like this. And I saw that thrill, that passion, which I was always aligned with. I saw that kind of passion, that energy coming from Razorpay. So I thought, okay, why not interview with Razorpay and see where I stand. Am I even can I even join the company? Does it sound the right fit for me? So I interviewed with Razorpay and I got in. Yes.
You are now working in Google. First thing is how does one crack Google?
So that's an excellent question, Poonam. I think Google is more than a dream for a lot of engineers, including myself. Uh, so I think there are three things that are required for an engineer to get into Google. First is very strong basic fundamentals. Second is experience with executing good projects, good exposure to proving your good exposure in companies that are growing, startups, I would say. That helps a lot. And third is some soft skills, some communication skills. This is the primary thing where engineers fail at. They know the answer, they know the algorithm, they know the data structure that has to be used. They know what is it that they've done brilliantly in their past, but they cannot express it. They cannot state it in correct words. They cannot add more clarity to it, which is why they fail.
So, the interview process, how was it any different from like the interview that you went for Razorpay or Amagi? How was it like?
As far as the interview process at Google is concerned, the focus is more on coding. Uh, the focus is more on, again, it depends at what level you're joining. If you're joining at a tech lead level or if you're joining at a managerial level, the focus is different. But for an entry level engineer or for an engineer for an SD1, SD2 kind of roles, to crack Google, firstly, you need to be very strong very powerful with your knowledge and experience in solving problems, data structures, and algorithms. There's ample number of resources available online. You have got the best teachers, the best content, the best mentors, uh, and all of it is mostly available free of cost today the, through the internet. Right? So there's a lot of resources on how the Google's interview process is structured around. What are the skills that are required? All you need to go is look up on those things and tune yourself, tune your profile such that you align with those things. Also, one of the most important things is that you deep dive into the internals of how it works. So, for example, let's say you're using one of the coding portals, right? Let's say it is LeetCode or HackerRank. Like you can use any of those portals to get started with programming. You have filters over there. You can start with easy, go on to medium. Occasionally, even try the hard questions to see where you align yourself with. Uh,
Mm.
it's at the same time it's very important to dig into the discussion section to see what people are discussing over there, to understand what are the different approaches to solve the problem. So this is very much required for you to master the coding process. And if you master this process, I think you're one step closer to getting your dream job over there.
So you work there as a software engineer. So what exactly is your work at Google? And like, what are the tools that you get to use in regular basis?
I work as a part of the Google search team. My job here is to ensure that uh, developers within the Google search team are able to build new features easily. I work as a part of some of a component which happens to become the backbone of Google search.
Mm.
It's a huge team. One of the coming to tools, I think the a lot of tools. You'll be surprised to know that a lot of tools at Google are in-house built in-house, right from code management, code versioning softwares to uh, automated jobs that run over your code changes to help you improve on those code. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but we do use again depending on team to team, we the tech stack changes. In my previous team, I was working on Java.
Mm-hmm.
The stack on the current team is on C++, which is a bit more low level than Java. So
Mm-hmm.
so it really depends on the team that you're working on, but a lot of tools that are available outside, Google would have an alternative, something that they would have worked on in-house, customized to suit their own needs.
What is your like a daily life look like? And probably because now there's COVID-19, and how has it changed like your daily day in office?
My team particularly, we have stand-ups on at a regular basis. It's 3 to 4 times a week. We discuss the
Mm-hmm.
updates. So Google doesn't micromanage at all. You're free to work in your style. If you feel like you want to work from home, sure, work from home. If you feel like you want to work from the cafeteria, sure. If you feel like you want to book a meeting room and work from there, you want an undisturbed time, sure. You feel free to work the way you want to. So that really helps because different people have different style of working. Coming to the
Mm-hmm.
daily work, uh, as long as you are able to update the team, update the stakeholders with what you do, what you have worked on, and how far are you from shipping those things, or what are the current blockers that you are facing. I think that's all people want. People do not ping you outside working hours. People are very cautious about disturbing you in your personal time. That is one thing I love about Google.
Mm-hmm.
With COVID-19, I think everyone is working from home these days, so things are a little challenging. But Google is ensuring that the transition is very smooth. We
Yeah.
we have weekly, bi-weekly, one-on-one with our managers to ensure that if there's anything, the manager can help us out with.
If you had the ability to go back in time, what would be that one or two thing that you would like to change about your past self, or probably would not change about your past self which you have now?
So I think firstly it's a journey. It's best experienced firsthand than being changed or directed upon. But let's say hypothetically we were to change something, right? So I think I would develop a habit of reading early on, because that goes way too long. It takes you to a lot of places. It opens up a lot of thoughts, opportunities. It opens up your mind. So whether it is reading books, whether it is reading blogs, whether it is reading tweets of some people that are related to your industry.
Thank you so much, Prateek, for this interview. It was quite insightful. I'm sure the people who are watching us will learn a new thing and try to put that in work. So thank you so much, Prateek.
No problem. Anytime.